Hello and welcome to another episode of Critical Political Thinking. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Washington, D.C. and how the Democrats are pushing to make it a state for pretty much none other reason than to add 2 more Democratic senators and some more representatives and 3 more electoral college votes. And we're going to get into the details why they need to do that before the next election. Additionally, we're going to talk about the BLM riots and the facts and statistics behind the BLM riots. So many people are saying there was no comparison to the DC protesters, so on and so forth, and that the majority of these protests were rather peaceful, so on and so forth. So I think it's time that we go ahead and expose BLM for exactly what they are, as well as we're going to talk about the Columbus, Ohio stabbing of the unfortunate stabbing of the 15-year-old young lady who was mortally attacking another individual. And we'll go into how Lebron James and several other even key politicians went ahead and jumped the gun, like the majority of people do, and took this narrative into their own hands and how they could have possibly put others' lives in jeopardy, and how it's about time people like Lebron James are held accountable. As well as we're going to be talking about a state representative from Michigan by the name of Joel Jones. Some more news that we assure you will be swept under the rug, but we're not going to allow it. Right here at Critical Political Thinking. So stay tuned and welcome to another informative episode. Hello and welcome to Critical Political Thinking. My name is Corey Camasso and I'm your host. We'd like to welcome you to another episode because today we have so much to talk about, especially the statehood of Washington, D.C. That's right, they're trying to make Washington, D.C. a state. And why would they want to do that? We've got 50 great states. There's really a tiny portion of land there. Not to mention, I don't know if you recall in the Constitution something about a 10-mile square land to represent, to not be part of the Union, to be separate from that. You know, the whole forefathers built this land on this, follow the Constitution and you'll see that not only is it unconstitutional to make Washington, D.C. a state, there's absolutely no valid reason to do so other than to create a further democratic stronghold within that community. If they did feel enough to make it part of a state, they should give it back to Maryland, Virginia, the land to which it was donated, to make this. Instead, what they are doing is making this travesty and forcing it through. Hopefully, they're going to not get it through, but then again, they're going to either put it through some kind of budget bull crap and do it through reconciliation or pull a filibuster, whatever the case may be. What they're attempting to do right now is so unconstitutional, disgraceful, and disgusting. And guess what? They're going to try and push it through, and then they're going to go and say it's racist to not do it. Wait and see. They're going to pull race into this some way, shape, or form, even though Washington, D.C. is nothing but democratic and American. It has nothing to do with color or culture. It has to do with statehood. And what they're looking at is 3 more electoral college votes so that if there ever is another close presidential election, it won't matter because it'll go in the Democratic favor. Additionally, they're trying to add 2 more senators and a multitude of representatives. So please, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that we pay attention to what's going on and understand that the Democrats do not have the best interest of America at heart when they're attempting to do silly nonsense just like this. Speaking of silly nonsense, how about the way Nancy Pelosi and all these other individuals are backing BLM and stating that the BLM protests are nothing like the Capitol rioters, nothing like the conservative Trumpers, the big giant violent ones. Keep in mind, Donald Trump and his Trumpers and protesters and so on and so forth had been going for just about as long as BLM. Think about all of the Donald Trump rallies. There were no Joe Biden, so we really can't compare them to that. But think of all of the Donald Trump events that were held within our great country and how many of them had any violence. None. Maybe a few people, because they had a drink or something, were removed, but no violence, no attacks on officers or assaults on officers, no injured assaulted officers, nothing of the sort at any of the conservative events or protests or anything like a Donald Trump rally or even after that, with the exception of January 6th. Now, January 6th, there were 300 people arrested on federal charges, 300 plus people arrested on federal charges. Okay? Well, guess how many BLM rioters and protesters there were in this same period of time? Because we're going to take 6 months. Let's just say 6 months. Or no, not even. Let's take, and I'll have the stats presented. Let's take from the George Floyd incident till current. We'll give them that long. And then we'll say the exact same period for Donald Trump. So we have, literally, because the only event where there were federal charges put on anybody for the Donald Trump incidents would have been at the Capitol protests. So we have January 6th. So we have around 300 and some federal riot charges. Well, guess how many federal riot charges were put on BLM in that same period of time? 300 plus. So already they're balanced. But then that was it, because everybody charged for the Capitol were charged federally. There were no state charges because it's not a state. So it's federal charges, okay? So that was it. That was all. That's all the conservatives. That's the horrible people that everyone talked about for months and months and months. Meanwhile, you have the liberal mainstream media claiming that BLM is not violent. Meanwhile, there's a fire behind the guy raging a Venado zone. Oh, they're mostly peaceful. Well, these mostly peaceful riot protests. Did you know out of all the BLM protests where they say maybe only a few of them had violence or turned into riots? Wrong. There are 220, a minimum of 220. They're talking around 221, 222, but 220 factual BLM protests that turned into riots based on the charges filed. 220. On top of that, 14,000 people have been arrested at BLM protests and riots. 14,000 compared to 300. Yep. Conservative Trump, so bad. I think the problem here is that the liberal media is such a joke and so biased that we can't ever get the facts. We can't get the truth. So we're proud to present them to you. Additionally, we have 30 plus people killed. Killed. Not died of suicide, not died of a heart attack, not died of an overdose, not died of a stroke, but killed. 30 plus people killed. Meanwhile, at the Capitol, one person was killed, and they were killed by the Capitol Police. An Officer Byrd, Michael L. Byrd. How about that? Nobody knows about him. Michael L. Byrd is the officer from the Capitol Police that shot and killed Ashley Babbitt. And do you know there were no charges brought upon him? As a matter of fact, he was found to have not done anything wrong. We didn't hear about this investigation. Nobody saw about this investigation. There were no protests for her. She was an unarmed woman that was shot and killed. Not a damn protest. That's the disgrace and disgust that this country has and how their morals and priorities are so backwards. That woman was not well, I guess you could consider her a criminal because she broke into the Capitol and was trying to get through the window. But so was George Floyd. How come he got a gold casket? How come he got 3 funerals? How come he is now the person that is sacrificing and becoming a martyr? Meanwhile, that man was let go and Derek Chauvin sits in jail. You don't see any irony there? I do. So you have these events that happen once at DC. Meanwhile, there's 30 plus states and 96,000 National Guard had to be activated. Had to be activated in order to maintain peace. Meanwhile, they activated the National Guard in Washington, D.C. and put about 15,000, 25,000 troops there at one point after the event, and nothing happened. They didn't even need to be there. As a matter of fact, many people discussed why they were there. They were treated like crap, kept in parking garages to sleep, served food in metal shards. It's just a disgrace what these people have done. And D.C. is a joke. Mayor Bowser is the reason that that place wasn't properly protected and people were even able to breach that place to begin with. It's a shame. You know, the sergeant at arms under Nancy Pelosi should be terminated. But no. How about the 200 plus city curfews for the BLM riots? They're not talking about, no, one curfew in Washington, D.C., but 200 plus for the BLM rioters. And on top of that, there were 17,000 plus police injuries. 14,000 arrested, 300 federal charges, 17,000 police injuries, and you're going to tell me that there is some kind of a comparison and that BLM is not a terrorist organization? No, instead what they've become is a political party, and now whatever they say goes, even if it doesn't go against the law. Take Derek Chauvin, for instance. We've just gone about it in the last video. He was guilty of being a terrible human being, but he was not guilty of third-degree murder. But that jury was so afraid that they had no choice but to do that because they did not want to see their own town burned to the ground where all the protesters would have been. That's why he did not get a fair trial. That should not have been there. There's just so much going on right now, people. And then it just continues. You know, you have a 13-year-old girl stabbing another 13-year-old girl, I believe it was, and you don't hear anything about that. But meanwhile, a 15-year-old girl is attacking and stabbing other people. Now, that girl was injured badly because nobody stepped in and helped her. Meanwhile, an officer stepped in and prevented a girl from killing one, maybe more individuals. This girl was lunging at and stabbing the hell out of someone. This officer shot her to protect others. And what do you have? People like Joe Biden jumping the gun by telling Jen Psaki to come on out. Psaki called it police violence is so disproportional towards African Americans. Maybe because the crimes they're committing are disproportional, the violent crimes they're committing. It all balances if you do the math, but you don't want to do the math because it doesn't fit the narrative. You're a joke, Jen Psaki. And I'm pretty sure everyone in the media understands that, and everyone in the world is starting to see that, because you can't answer a question without a lie. You can't answer a question without circling back to bullshit. That's the truth. Now you have LeBron James, a basketball player, phenomenal basketball player at that, but that's it. That's what he's good at. Stay in your lane, LeBron, because what you just did was jeopardize the life of an officer, and I hope you're held accountable. I hope charges are brought upon you. You cannot just say you're next with a little hourglass, because there are a lot of nuts in this world that can take that any which way you want. Remember what you did to Donald Trump? You impeached him for inciting violence? Well, what did you just do? The same damn thing. So I hope you're censured. I hope you're fined by the NBA. I hope the NBA can step up to the plate, but they won't. They'll stand behind you and back you and say, oh, well, he was just upset. You have to understand, they're just so upset. The world is upset. Everyone is upset. It's called control your emotions, listen to the facts, because that's what's wrong with America. People jump to conclusions before they understand the truth. And that's why we even started this channel, to give you that truth. Because guess what? The liberal media, they'll jump to conclusions and they'll leave it at that to fit their woke narrative, instead of sharing what actually happened. What you had was a knife fight. And then you have people going and saying this knife fight was, oh, it's just a backyard knife fight. What the hell is a backyard, schoolyard knife fight? That's a fight with a deadly weapon. When did it become to that? Maybe that's because that's that culture, but maybe that's what's wrong with that culture. Did you ever think of that? Come on, people. We're smarter than this. We're better than this. We are Americans. We are the greatest country in the world, and we're allowing ourselves to be torn apart by a bullshit woke narrative by politicians that care nothing about you. Can't you see this? Stop allowing them to divide us. Because these are our neighbors. These are our friends. The police officers that you're attacking are the people that will be there to back you. Nancy Pelosi doesn't give a shit about you. Chuck Schumer doesn't give a shit about you. Nadler doesn't give a shit about you. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they don't care. The people that care are the people around you. So look into the people of your neighbors and start taking care of one another and make this world a better community and stop them from dividing us. Because that, my friend, is the problem. These people are paid to do this. These people make millions of dollars to live on our agony and our separation and our division by forcing these narratives and forcing clicks and forcing the media people to watch and have a need to watch. You don't need to watch. You need to go out, make yourself a living, do something with your family, and have a great life. But stop relying on other people and other things and forcing these fake narratives and agendas just to feel part of something. You are part of something. You're American, and that's goddamn good enough. We have one more important story to talk about, and I think this is extremely important because it just goes to show how if they're on that team, nobody seems to find out about it. There's a guy named Jewel Jones. He was a representative in Michigan. Got a DUI and was backed by Gretchen Whitmer. So basically she said, oh, people make mistakes. He's learned from his mistakes. He's a great guy, blah, blah, blah. Sure he is. That's why a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, he rolled his car. And then when the authorities and the EMTs came to assist him, not only did he assault them, but there was a firearm in the vehicle, rap music blaring, and he's threatening to call his friend Gretchen Whitmer. These people are all in trouble. He runs the cops' budget. This is the disgrace that is in the Democratic Party now. These are the people that are being backed by the by the Democratic, populace. It's a shame. It's not fair. And you need to start realizing the people you're voting for. Don't vote for someone based on color. Don't vote for them based on the name. And don't vote on them because someone told you to. Do your research. Find out who these people are. Do you not see that that person is now in charge of your police budget and he completely despises the police? So the people that actually need protection and care will not get it because this man now has a vendetta and an agenda? I certainly hope Michigan holds this man accountable. And I hope more than just Fox News is covering this story because it seems to be getting swept under the rug. So we made sure that even though we're not in Michigan, hopefully some of our viewers in Michigan can find out about Jewel Jones and call your other state's representatives and senators and let them know you want him out. You want him censured because this man is a disgrace and he is, frankly, a terror and should not be representing your community in any way, shape, or form. He needs to take care of himself, to worry about his own addictions and worry about his own problems before he can take care of a city. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what's going on in our country. It truly is falling apart. D.C., they're trying to turn into a state to regain further control. They're literally trying to push this, increase of the Supreme Court, which will be the end of America as we know it. We will no longer have Lady Justice. There will be no balance of the scales. The scales will tilt so far in one direction that we will turn into a socialist economy and fail. Take a look at the stock market the past week. Didn't you notice a trend? Did you not notice the trend that we predicted? Ladies and gentlemen, it's coming. Get ready. Joe Biden has begun the destruction of America. I predicted this long ago, and we here at Critical Political Thinking will continue to bring you the truth as long as we can. It's going to be very difficult in the next few weeks because there's going to be a lot coming out that they're going to be censoring, preventing us from sharing. We've already had one story removed on the BLM mansions. We know what kind of a disgrace that is, but what are you going to do? These are the people you voted for. These are the people that, even if you didn't vote for, found a way to get votes to get into office. So it's time that we put our damn foot down, stand up as Americans, get together, and start networking and making sure that come the next round of elections, we put the right people in the right place to protect ourselves, our assets, our families, and our everything. The way of life. My name is Corey Camasso, and this is Critical Political Thinking. Remember, we are a non-paid, non-monetized channel, and we rely on viewers like you. Please visit www.criticalpoliticalthinking.com and join our Critical Political Thinkers Club today. For as little as $5, you can join, get daily exclusive content, as well as get yourselves a Critical Political Thinkers mug, or upgrade your subscription and get yourself a t-shirt, face mask, all kinds of stuff that we distribute on the website just to try to help to bring some more awareness to the truth and ensure that we won't be going anywhere. We will continue to pay out of pocket to provide the truth to America because we understand that's what's important. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please share, please like, please rumble, please echo, please do everything you possibly can to help this video be seen. And again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Corey Camasso. This is Critical Political Thinking. God bless America.